In the frozen streets of Kyiv, a 17-year-old sits hunched over a laptop in a basement lit only by the glow of his screen. Above him, the distant hum of a Shahed drone cuts through the winter air. While the world's most advanced militaries pour billions into counter-drone technology, this teenager is about to crack a problem that has stumped defense contractors for years. His name is Andriy Pokrasa, and his solution? It cost less than a smartphone. This is the story of how a high school student turned the drone war upside down, and why Russia's military command is now terrified of teenagers with laptops. To understand Andrey's breakthrough, we need to understand the nightmare Ukraine has been facing. Since the fall of 2022, Russia has unleashed thousands of Iranian-made Shahed 136 drones, kamikaze machines packed with explosives designed to terrorize cities and cripple infrastructure. They're cheap to produce, costing around $25,000 each, but the missiles used to shoot them down, those cost up to $3 million. It's asymmetric warfare at its most brutal. For every 10 Shaheds launched, Ukraine's air defense systems drain precious resources. Even when they succeed, the economic math doesn't add up. Russia knew this. They were weaponizing bankruptcy as much as explosives. Traditional counter-drone systems rely on radar, electronic jamming, or expensive interceptor missiles. But the Shahed drones fly low and slow, hugging the terrain to avoid radar detection. They're made of fiberglass and plastic, nearly invisible to conventional systems. By the time they're spotted, it's often too late. Ukrainian engineers, soldiers, and civilians watched helplessly as these drones struck power plants, residential buildings, and hospitals. The military needed a solution, fast and affordable. Enter Andriy Pokrasa, a kid who spent more time coding than sleeping. Andriy wasn't a military strategist. He wasn't an engineer at a defense firm. He was a high school student obsessed with two things: drones and artificial intelligence. Before the war, Andriy spent his weekends flying camera drones over the Ukrainian countryside, teaching himself computer vision and machine learning through online courses. When Russia invaded, everything changed. His hobby became a weapon. The problem was clear. Ukraine needed a way to detect and neutralize Shahed drones without burning through million-dollar missiles. But how? Andriy's answer was deceptively simple. Use cheap commercial drones equipped with AI-powered targeting systems to intercept the Shaheds in mid-air. Here's how it works. Andriy modified off-the-shelf racing drones, the kind hobbyists use for competitions, adding lightweight explosive charges and custom software he coded himself. Using machine learning algorithms, his system could identify the distinct heat signature and flight pattern of a Shahed drone from over a kilometer away. Once detected, his drone would autonomously navigate toward the target, matching its speed and trajectory. Then, at the optimal intercept point, it would detonate, destroying both itself and the Russian drone in a controlled explosion far from civilian areas. The cost? Less than $1,000 per intercept, a 300-to-1 savings compared to traditional missiles. But Andriy didn't stop there. He realized that the real power wasn't just in one drone, it was in swarms. By networking multiple drones together, he created a distributed defense system where each unit communicated in real time, coordinating intercepts and covering wider areas. If one drone failed, another would take over. He called it Sky Shield. When Andriy first pitched his idea to Ukrainian military officials, he was laughed out of the room. A teenager with homemade drones against a superpower's weapons? It sounded like science fiction. But desperation breeds innovation. One officer, a former software engineer turned battalion commander, decided to give Andriy a chance. They ran a field test outside Chernihiv in early 2023. 3 Shahed drones were approaching the city's outskirts. Andriy launched his swarm. Within minutes, all 3 Russian drones were destroyed,
0 missiles fired, $0 million expenses. The room went silent. Within weeks, Andriy's system was being fast-tracked for deployment. Ukrainian tech volunteers helped him scale production. Local workshops began assembling the modified drones. Defense programmers refined his AI algorithms. What started as a teenager's bedroom project became a nationwide defense initiative. But the story doesn't end there. Russia noticed, and they adapted. By mid-2023, Russian operators began flying Shaheds in tighter formations, hoping to overwhelm Andriy's drones. They altered flight paths unpredictably. They added electronic countermeasures to jam the AI targeting systems. Andriy countered every move. He upgraded his machine learning models to predict erratic flight patterns. He implemented frequency-hopping communication protocols to resist jamming. He even experimented with acoustic sensors to detect the Shahed's distinctive engine sound when visual tracking failed. It became a chess match played at 300 kilometers per hour, 1,500 meters above Ukrainian soil. And the teenager was winning.
By the winter of 2024, Andriy's Sky Shield system had intercepted over 200 Russian drones. The cost savings? Over $500 million. More importantly, the psychological impact was profound. Ukrainian civilians began to sleep easier, knowing that a network of smart drones stood watch overhead. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Andriy's innovation wasn't the technology itself, it was what it represented. In an era where defense technology is dominated by billion-dollar corporations and government black budgets, a high school student with a laptop proved that ingenuity doesn't require unlimited resources. It requires unlimited determination. Today, Andriy Pokrasa is no longer just a teenager with a drone hobby. He's been recruited by Ukraine's Ministry of Defense as a special consultant. His Sky Shield system has been integrated into the country's broader air defense network, working alongside traditional systems to create layered protection. International defense analysts have taken notice. NATO officials have quietly visited Ukraine to observe the system in action. Israel, which faces its own drone threats, has expressed interest in the technology. Even the United States military has begun exploring similar concepts for asymmetric warfare scenarios. But the implications extend far beyond Ukraine. Andriy's breakthrough has fundamentally challenged how we think about modern warfare. For decades, military doctrine assumed that superior technology and massive budgets would always prevail. The Sky Shield system proves that's not always true. Small, agile innovations can disrupt even the most established military strategies. This is the democratization of defense technology, and it terrifies traditional military powers. Russia has reportedly placed Andriy on a target list, recognizing that his teenage mind poses a strategic threat. The Ukrainian government has moved him to a secure location where he continues to develop countermeasures under protection. The drone war continues to evolve. Russia has introduced newer variants of the Shahed with improved defenses, but Andriy and his growing team of young engineers adapt in real time, releasing software updates and hardware modifications faster than Russia can counter them. What makes this story even more extraordinary is the global movement it's inspired. From basements in Lviv to university labs in Kyiv, young Ukrainians are now developing their own defense innovations. The war has created an entire generation of citizen engineers, people who refuse to be victims and instead become defenders through intelligence and creativity. Andriy's message to them is simple. You don't need permission to solve problems. You just need courage to try.
War is often remembered through the lens of generals, politicians, and billion-dollar weapons systems. But history's most pivotal moments frequently hinge on the unexpected, on individuals who refuse to accept that problems are unsolvable. Andriy Pokrasa embodies that spirit. He didn't wait for governments to protect his country. He didn't defer to experts or wait for permission. He saw a problem, trusted his skills, and built a solution with whatever tools he had available. In doing so, he saved countless lives and reshaped modern air defense strategy. But perhaps the deepest lesson from Andriy's story isn't about drones or AI or military tactics. It's about the power of human ingenuity when survival is on the line. It's about what happens when ordinary people refuse to be ordinary. Today, as Shahed drones continue to launch from Russian territory, a network of small, smart machines stands ready, guided by algorithms written by a teenager who believed he could make a difference. And above the cities of Ukraine in the cold night sky, that belief is keeping people alive. The next time you hear about teenage hackers or young inventors, remember Andriy Pokrasa. Remember that the future of warfare won't just be written by generals in war rooms. It'll be coded by kids in basements who refuse to surrender. Because sometimes the smartest weapon isn't the most expensive one. It's the one nobody saw coming.